And here we are to the Detect, Protect and Thrive webinar. So the big question is, how will you protect your business and staff and customers as the lockdown eases? So today we are joined by Fiona Edwards, the Commercial and Sustainability Director at JPA Workspaces, and Jenifer Greenslade, the Marketing Director, and Jon Poole, the Director of Partnerships at Croft Communications. So today we're going to be discussing the physical preparations that businesses will need to make within their workspaces in order to begin a phased return to the office in accordance with the government guidelines. So Crofts will also be looking at, if you aren't ready to move back into the office and you are still working from home, the key considerations for home working. So if I pass over to Fiona, she's going to start this off.
Lovely jubbly, lovely jubbly. Oh, good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you. It's pouring down with rain here, so I hope you don't get drowned today. I'd just like to take a few minutes of your time to talk to you about what we're doing to help organisations get back to work. A little bit about JPA to start with. We work across all sectors. That would be office, education, healthcare and hospitality. And we operate locally. That's to ensure high service levels and rapid response. Our immediate purpose right now, though, is to help give employers the confidence to develop safe spaces for staff to return, and in turn to give employees the confidence that it's actually safe to come back. The new normal is definitely a more flexible approach to working, and delivered in three areas that we're going to address: increased home working, short-term fixes for organisations going back, because we don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money right now getting staff back to work because the future is uncertain, and building for the future. The obvious increase in home working is going to result in an increased number of permanent home workers who will require employers to address the same duty of care responsibilities as if they were office-based. And we've found that the HSE website is as good as any place to get up-to-date, current and really useful information for staff that are working from home. There are videos there which show good practice for sitting at your workstation, and really good definitions of permanent and temporary employees and responsibilities. And they go further than just the DSE equipment, and moving forwards we feel that's going to be an area of focus. What we're doing to help companies with remote staff, we have a series of services which include a home worker risk assessment. They include downloadable guides. We're also supplying rapid home working services, task chairs and quick kit and equipment. And we're so convinced that this is going to become more mainstream part of our day-to-day work, because we're seeing moves such as the move in the German Parliament to try and make working from home an actual right, an actual physical right in law moving forward, which is really interesting development. And I don't think any of us would have foreseen 3 or 4 months ago. Before bringing staff back to work, there are 3 essential questions we should be asking. Do we really need our staff back? Is it safe? And is it mutually agreed? Because if our staff don't want to come back and they're not confident that we can provide safe working places, they're just not going to come. This area will require a number of activities to take place. It will require new risk assessments and policies to be put in place, new communication strategies, obviously adequate social distancing, rigorous cleaning and hygiene protocols, and also new detect and protect protocols. Without these, we can't ensure the safety of our staff and build the confidence necessary both for our employers and our employees to come back to work. The reality of our spacing issues is that most offices simply don't have the space to bring everybody back all at once, even if they wanted to. So we're seeing several of our clients starting with smaller pilot schemes with just a few staff to try things out and see how they work. And activities that they will be including will be, they'll have staggered shifts, staggered start times, staggered lunch breaks, staggered days in. Our average client at the minute is seeing about a quarter of their staff in at any one time. The government guidelines state 2 metres, unless 2 metres isn't possible, and then try and keep 1 metre apart. So the image that you're seeing is basically an example of what that might look like. Every office is different, every workspace is, oops, didn't want to do that. Every, oh, bear with me a minute, the screen share stopped. I'm coming back. Apologies for that. Minor technical hitch, had to be one, so carrying on. So yes, the government guidelines say 2 metres, unless 2 metres isn't possible, in which case 1 metre. With so few people back in the office at the moment, the 2 metres seems a reasonable goal because the offices just aren't occupied. And so we're helping companies sort their spaces out to achieve that. When it comes to the actual furniture, in many cases we can help by simply reconfiguring what's already in place and optimizing what's already there, and only topping up with new furniture or additional items or safety items as essentially necessary. So that might be safety screens, other types of protective screens, signage, etc. So we're focusing with our clients on using what they have to start with to see if we can foster safe spaces, and then only topping up as required. What we're going to see more of is we're going to see more space between staff, more back-to-back and side-to-side working. We're going to see more individual work areas moving forwards, more easy, clean fabrics and surfaces in workspaces. We've spent the last 20 years making all of our workspaces very cozy and comfy with lovely fabrics and lovely materials and lots of buttons and complicated, difficult to clean pieces of furniture, and there will be a return to easier, harder fabrics and surfaces. So for example, when I was at school all those years ago, I don't remember seeing any fabric in my school at all, the basis being that everything could be cleaned by bleach, which effectively cleaned germs. We will have a version of that coming back with white clean vinyls and antimicrobial fabrics for seating. We'll see more partitioning, more screens and shielding to mitigate risk, more wall and floor signage, more personal storage, and more touch-free devices. And conversely, we'll see less dense occupation, less shared desks, less clutter, less face-to-face working, less shared equipment, less common use areas. So more of some things, less of other things, but less shared spaces and desks are the main thing. You'll have all seen the various back to work short-term products that we can supply, and many other companies can also supply. And initially we all thought these would be short-term features for our offices, but it's kind of looking now that these kind of products, sanitators, bins, signs, are going to be longer term features of our offices moving forwards. And then additionally, we're now seeing demand for individual work pods and safer spaces within spaces, perspex screens. That is going to go on ad infinitum, and we can supply perspex screens for every type of area. But the thing we're finding the most interesting is the demand for replacement seat pads in wipe clean and antimicrobial fabrics. So that's quite interesting. And I think at the start, as I said, we all thought these kind of products were fairly short term, but I think they're going to be a feature of most offices moving forwards in their future planning. Some of our clients are taking this opportunity to refresh and revigorate their workspaces for when staff come back, and also to encourage their staff to come back. There's definitely a more people-centric view. We've missed our staff, we want them to come back, and we want to develop lovely spaces for them to come back into. And with also, though, with an element of future-proofing. So, for example, in the top picture, those things that you can see on the wall are actually desk-mounted screens, which you can take off the wall at any one time and place on your table or your desks how and when you need to create individual workspaces. So you'll be able to see them placed on the desks in the bottom picture. They're covered in antimicrobial fabric, which zap all the germs and bugs, so there's no risk of infection or counter-infection. And these are the kinds of things I think we're going to see moving forwards for future-proofing workspaces. Other clients are looking at longer-term strategies and the chance to reshape and take this chance to assess what kind of workspaces they're going to need in the future. And this is undoubtedly going to include one or several of the following: more flexible working, downsizing, growth, relocation, regionalisation, less travel, less, oh, I nearly said less use of technology, more technology obviously, and certainly more collaborative partnerships. And so we can also help develop long-term strategies for our clients and developing environments which will work for them and work for the job that they need to do now and also into the future. All of this obviously, wherever we're working and however we're working, it needs to be underpinned by IT and communication strategies that actually work. And we happen to partner with Croft Communications, who Jen and John are following in a moment, also a Herts Chamber patron. But it is essential that if we're going to be working in different places, in different parts of the country, in different types of workspaces, that we can communicate remotely and safely. We have suitable broadband speeds, we have the power we need to make that happen. Otherwise, we're only fixing half of the puzzle. We can also offer access to our team of preferred partners. We have a great team of experts across all sorts of areas which might be posing particular problems and to offer solutions. For example, we have a partner who does COVID-19 site certification, so that if an employer is trying to get their staff back to work, they can actually post a certificate to show that the premises and the protocol and the processes are all robust and in keeping with a certified standard to keep the staff safe and for safe operational working practices. Similarly, we have safe space deep cleaning certification to help give both employer and employee peace of mind about and confidence to come back to work, because this is all about confidence and getting our staff back to work. Not everybody will come back and the workplace will be different, but in the meantime, we certainly need to try and get people out of their houses and walking past the dry cleaners and the Tesco Metros and all the little shops to try and get the economy back and going. Touchless vending machines, there's an interesting concept. My personal passion moving forwards is to help use this opportunity to build back better and to address social and environmental issues which herein we may not have been active in tackling. And for me, they would include developing more people-centric environments, helping address the work-life balance of our staff, wider inclusion, wider diversity, a greater focus on staff welfare and well-being, along with environmental awareness, because now we're developing our people and looking after our people. We really need to start getting back to the issue of sorting out our planet. My big thing is sustainability, so developing more local approach, more local partnerships, building better work environments, greener working environments, reducing our waste, reducing our carbon, because the clock is ticking with net zero for 2050, and those issues aren't going away. And when we all look out of our window, we've had 93 degrees yesterday. We've got thunderstorms today, and the polar ice caps are going to fill the Grand Canyon in, you know, with the volume of water they've lost. This is these are pressing issues. So we should take this opportunity, I feel, to build back better. We've developed a range of little publications and PDFs on our website, which are available to download, and I hope they're useful. And the main thing is to say, I think, really, that we're just here to give help and advice in any way, shape or can. So any questions, even if you need a pointer of where to go to find some expertise in a particular area, we're here to help, and we would love to help, because our mission really is to try and get Hertfordshire back on its feet again in any way that we can. These are our contact details. We'd love to hear from you, and my only job now is to thank you so much for your time, to apologise for the little technical hiccup in the middle, and to pass you over to Jen and Jon from Croft. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Fee.
Thank you, Fee. Good morning, guys. Yes, as Gemma said, my name is Jenifer and I'm the Marketing Director here at Croft Communications. I've been with the company coming up to 2 years now, and obviously during that I've seen a wave of changes, multiple adaptations, a lot of them due to obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. Croft have been proud patrons now of the Herts Chamber of Commerce since 2019. Sorry. And have found that their support, especially during this pandemic, has been invaluable. We're a Hertfordshire-based business, and we do also have a shop based in Bristol, and we've been traded since 2006, and since then have been building a customer-focused reputation and a base of around 3,500 clients nationally. We cater to all types of business, from one-man bands to large corporate companies and public sector businesses. Our aim being to rationalise your communication strategy and offer a one-stop shop for your telephony needs. I want to hand you over to my colleague Jon.
Thanks, Jen. So we're going to just sort of touch on a 5-step approach to get you back to work safely. I think probably key to mention the first 4 points are about the in-office, and I think Fiona's just done a brilliant job of really covering off the key things you need to do there. So we'll just reinforce a few of those. One of them being understanding your responsibilities to a risk assessment before people return to work. As an employer, it's actually something you have to do. Highlight your highest risk areas in the business and look to see what you can do to mitigate the risk of transmission in those. As an example, if you've got a customer service counter of some description, putting in a perspex screen just to reduce the risk of any transmission in that area. Secondly, knowing a drill. You know, what are you going to do if you have an issue? Are you going to close the office? Do you need to just send certain people onto quarantine? Having an idea of what's going to happen rather than panicking when it does. Enabling social distancing. I think Fee touched on it earlier, having staff rotas. For us at Croft, for instance, that's what we've done. We have certain staff in on certain days. We try and minimise the number of people in common areas. So if you're into a meeting room, there's a maximum of 5 people in there. If you're in the kitchen, there's a maximum of 4 people at any time. Just understanding how you mitigate that risk of social distancing, and exactly as Fee said, how can you redress your office, move some desks around just to really mitigate the risk of any transmission in that space. And then maintaining good hygiene. So obviously cleaning desks, wipe down surfaces, everything you can normally do. In addition to that, you know, we as a business have a number of sanitising stations around the office, so you can just walk up and get hand sanitizer at any time. And then just stopping sharing. So one of the things we've really tried to instill at Croft as we're returning to work is that every single person in the business has their own mug, for instance. So we're not going to be all using different mugs. Everyone's got their own specific mug, and everyone's got very passionate about it. And it's a serious issue if you touch anyone else's mug in this office. So that sort of covers you inside the office, but you know, what are you doing at the front door? What are you doing at the entrance? And that's where potentially our detect and protect, our thermal detection camera, might be of value. So you'll go to a lot of places where they're doing some sort of temperature checks. If you're going to a physiotherapist, massage therapist, anything like that, but it's quite manual. So you just need to have a consideration of, do you want to have a manual process where you need to put a member of staff at risk to be doing that? check, or do you want something more automated where you've got that lack of stress of putting anyone out on the front line, as it were? You then need to consider how accurate you need it to be. The temperature ranges you get with this technology can be anywhere from plus or minus 8 degrees. So if someone read 31 degrees, they could be 39 or they could be 24, right down to the most accurate stuff is at plus or minus 0.3 of a degree Celsius. So you need to understand, what is the threshold? Obviously, they all come at different price points, but you just need to give consideration, to what's most important to you there. Next, consider how many people enter your building at one time. If you're going down a manual process, it's very easy to miss someone in a high footfall area. If you've got 10 people coming in, it's very simple for someone just to slip through while you're testing someone else. So do you need something that can handle multiple people at once? How are you storing your data is probably the next consideration. If you do get a track and trace event, how have you stored the data of people entering your building on any given day? Is it just pen and paper? Have you got video evidence? Have you, what are you actually doing with that and how are you storing it? And then obviously goes back to knowing the drill again to a degree. What happens in the event of a temperature trigger? What do you need to happen? Are you closing your office? Are you stopping that person entering? Are you then cleaning down the area? You just need to have a full process of exactly what's going to happen from that point onwards so that you can just enact it as if it were a fire drill. So we've got a short video which I think really gives some nice case examples of where the product can be used. So I'll just let Jon play that now.
How will you protect your office, your school, your restaurant, or your shop from the risks of COVID-19? In particular, how will you spot someone coming into your premises with a temperature? The answer is with one of our fully automatic thermal imaging cameras. With a single, quick, no-contact scan from an unobtrusive wall-mounted camera, you'll get an instant result, so you'll know straight away whether there's a risk. Unlike with handheld units, our camera can scan multiple bodies at once in areas of high footfall like main entrances and receptions, so it won't slow people down when they enter your building. It even works for people wearing hats, masks and face coverings. The system can be configured to sound an alarm as soon as it detects a temperature outside of the range you've set, and is so powerful that it can even detect a hot drink and exclude it from the results. All of the video and temperature data is stored on the cloud in a GDPR-compliant way and can be accessed securely at any time. And with no initial capital outlay and an easy monthly payment plan, you'll have a thermal imaging camera protecting you, your staff, your customers and your students in days. COVID-19 is going to be a hot topic for a long time to come. Make sure you use a Croft thermal imaging camera to help protect your people, your customers, your students and your business. Detect and protect with Croft Communications. How will you protect your office, your...
So, sorry, a little technical hiccup there. Hopefully that just gives some idea of what thermal detection cameras can do and where they can be used. Any more information you want, do just get in touch with us. We're happy to have a chat about, what can be done and how it might work for you as a business. But obviously, not every business is actually going back to the office this year. Google have quite publicly said their staff will work from home for the rest of the year. So, what are your key considerations from a technical standpoint if that's what you want to do? I think firstly, you've got to look at your broadband connectivity. Is residential good enough for business practice? Are you keeping company data safe and looking at GDPR and all the different implications of being remote? Can staff just use their own phones and tablets rather than you having to issue mobile devices? Are there mobile apps available for home workers to enable them to work with their normal numbers? And how do you collaborate remotely if you're not all in one place? So if we look at the broadband considerations, key is looking at broadband from a residential and a business standpoint. They're very different products. Business products are much more robust than residential products, and they come with far more increased service levels. So, I don't know if any of you are on Virgin Media, but Virgin Media quite famously had a 3-day outage at the start of the lockdown, hugely impacted people in their own homes. But if that's you trying to work from a business perspective, understanding what is the cost to your company of losing as an employee for a whole day. And add to that, video conferences are pretty much the most prevalent way of working at the moment. I personally have Sky Broadband at home. and do struggle a little bit on video conferences because the quality of my video feed isn't strong enough because of my broadband. So understanding the impact of that, as well as then looking at, do you want some sort of centrally managed broadband solution for your staff, where you've got a bit more ownership of the connectivity and any privacy settings you might be able to enable. Following on from that, you've got to understand GDPR considerations. I think top of the list is, how is data being stored and shared? Once you're not in the office, it's a lot harder to communicate with your colleagues, so you need to be making sure they're using proper applications to share data. They're not sending things on unencrypted platforms. Add to that that suddenly they're moving around. People might be working from a coffee shop. A laptop gets left in a coffee shop. Is it fully encrypted? Are the passwords strong enough? Is your data being protected? I'm not going to say we're GDPR experts, but what I would say is, if you are going to move to remote working, you need to look at some sort of remote working policy as a business, just to understand exactly how you're keeping your data safe. Looking at bring your own device, which is using staff handsets as opposed to issuing new mobile devices. It's been a great short-term solution for a lot of people. A lot of our clients have come to us and asked for us to put short-term applications onto staff members' own phones, just to enable them to work at home. But you just need to have the consideration of what happens. You know, the pubs are back open again, you go out, you have a few drinks and you lose your phone and it's got work applications on it. There's potentially sensitive data on those applications. What access can you get to that device to remove that application, to remove that data? So there's something called mobile device management. It's a tool that would enable you to remote access that device and clear down anything. So we would say, if you do go bring your own device, have a look at mobile device management. Then looking at unified communications mobility. So you want your staff to be able to work from home. You want them to maybe have a physical handset on their desk. Some people are going to want that. Some people are happy to work with a mobile phone and an application, or a desktop client and a headset. So you just need to understand it's not one solution for everyone. There's going to be a bit of a mix there, and there's potential cost implications. The biggest challenge we find with everyone working remotely is knowing when someone's available. You can no longer just look across the office and see that Helen's not on the phone, so I can give her a call. So make sure you choose a product that gives you something we call busy lamp field, which is basically availability that says, I'm on a call, or I'm available, or I'm on lunch, I'm on holiday, I'm in a meeting. Just gives you that clarity of when you can and can't phone people. I think it's also key to try and retain your business working in its normal fashion. So a solution that allows your normal call flow, so you can still press 1 for support, press 2 for sales, and it still goes through to the relevant staff members, but that you've still got some overarching view and visibility that that's being met with the standard KPIs. It's being answered within 3 or 5 rings, whatever that might be. So you just want to make sure you've got products that give you that visibility. And then finally, if we just look at how you collaborate, obviously you're not in the same place, so it becomes more difficult. Video conferencing is the major tool people use, but you then want to look at what are your security requirements. Obviously, a lot of people have used Zoom for free because it's free, and they've all had a lot of fun with it. They did have a big security issue at the start of lockdown, so there's some people aren't comfortable with that, so they've maybe gone the Teams route, or even gone to something like LogMe and GoToMeeting because they feel it's a more secure product. You need to consider how many people you need in your meetings, because there are limitations on that, and how long a meeting needs to be, because there's further limitations around that. And then I think it's really smart to think about how and what you collaborate on. So if you're collaborating on an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, Teams becomes a great tool because they own Excel as well as owning Teams. So they give you a bit more capability on how you can amend those documents over the other platforms. So just think about the platforms you're using and how they might align to the collaboration tools you're using. But that's just like a quick snapshot of what we think you should be thinking about. So from us, that's about it. Any more information you need, there's some details there, but also obviously happy to answer any questions you've got. Over to you, Alison.
Okay, no, thank you very much. So I think we have got some questions that have come through on the chat. I don't know if anyone's got any questions they want to ask straight away. If you want to stick your hand up, or no? Okay. So Rachel has actually asked, in an office, is it mandatory to have perspex screens, on a pod if employees can socially distance. I don't know if you know the answer, maybe Fee?
It's all, because these are guidelines and it's not law, it's discretionary. If you can achieve your it depends what the pod looks like. Are we talking about a bank of 4 desks, or are we talking about an alcove sofa pod? Because all sorts of things can be achieved. You just have it's a layout by layout basis. And if I can see what you're talking about, I can probably help you with that. But where you don't think you can get the distance, then a perspex screen will certainly help. So if you're working opposite each other and you just can't get 2 meters, then a perspex screen will help mitigate that risk. And this is all about risk mitigation and building confidence. So if you're sat in a bank of 4 desks, if that's the interpretation of pod, and you're facing each other, then a perspex screen in front will mitigate any risk. They're not compulsory to have on every desk in every area, because the chances are they're probably just not needed. It's only where you can't get your distancing. But say in corridors, if you've got somebody sat here and you've got somebody walking, you're on a corridor, then probably you would as well, because you might not be able to get that 2 meters that way. So what we're saying to our clients is, send us a photo or a fag packet drawing of how your desks are laid out, where your flow of traffic is, and we can show you where it's safest to put, or where it's optimal to put the screens to reduce the transmission.
Lovely. No, thank you, Edward, Fiona. Hopefully, Rachel, that's been helpful. Great. Has anybody else got any questions? No?
I really love the thermal imaging thing. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I'm dying to find out more about that, because that would be perfect for a huge number of our clients. Because it's not a manual thing. It's a system that you can put in place, and it just improves confidence and reduces risk. And I definitely want to find out more about that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you actually, Fee. I don't know if you guys, so Jen or John, is it? I guess it's quite a discreet piece of equipment, is it? I mean, would people necessarily know that they're being scanned as they come in, or are they told? Is it? I mean, I did actually. Unfortunately, I lost a bit of connection, so I did miss that piece that you were saying about the equipment. But do you walk through it? Is it a scanner, or is it just a discreet?
Yeah, it looks, it's horses for courses to a degree, so it looks like a standard security camera. It doesn't look any different to how your usual security setup would look from a CCTV perspective. Some companies like to put a monitor there, so as you're walking in, you can see how you read. And we've had companies where we've done installations and you see the staff gathering around the monitor because they want to all check their temperature on a daily basis, and it really does seem to give them quite a lot of comfort and makes them feel like the company cares about them. But other companies want it to be way more discreet. So it is very much a horses for courses as a business, but it's totally automated. So there's absolutely nothing that needs to be done. You can have push notifications to your mobile device, email, to a door entry system, if there are triggers. So it can be as discreet as you choose.
Lovely. No, thank you. And someone's asked, how long do you actually keep the info on these site visitors? Is there any guidance on how long that needs to be kept for? Yeah, so the standard on our solution is 30 days, but what you've got within that is an archiving feature. You've got sort of 5 gig of archiving space that you can keep for as long as you choose, and you've got the capability to download everything locally as well if you choose to. So you've got 30 days guaranteed cloud storage, and then you can play around with it from there. Right, okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna look, I think we've got a question about masks, just bear with me. Okay, so Indira has said, so government recommend masks for close proximity working, as we all know. She's a counsellor and can actually achieve the 2 metre distancing with clients in a room for up to an hour. She said an exemption to wearing masks is if communication facial expressions are important, which they are in counselling, and she'd welcome any thoughts on this, as there are pros and cons to wearing masks, especially in her profession. So are there any exemptions, I would say, that you know of to wearing masks?
I don't know about counselling, but what I would say is the obvious things. It's all about mitigating risk where you can. So if the clients or the clients' patients are coming to you and you're in your own space, something like a screen or a perspex screen where you can see would mitigate risk. But also the head visors that hairdressers are wearing these days, at least you'd be able to see facial expressions there, and they would also at least mitigate risk. It's all about sensible steps. What can we do is, sensible steps. So those two things, if people are coming to you, then a perspex screen would help. And in addition, if you really wanted to put the client or the patient at ease, one of those sort of clear masks as well would help.
Lovely. No, thanks, Fee. Has anybody else got any questions? I know that Leslie has said about the transparent masks. So yeah, that's a good idea. Nobody else? Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll leave it there then with questions. Thanks, Jen, John and Fee. I know that obviously this is going to be available, and as Fiona said, that there are details on their website and downloadable documents that you can just, if you want them to take away with you and to use throughout your business, then please do. And they are Lisa. I've never seen it spelled that way before. So thank you all to come in. So I just want to make you aware, so dates for your diaries. So we have started some of our own summits. Earlier this week we had a successful property and construction summit. So our next summit is the Life Science Summit, coming up on the 18th of August. And here we're going to have Farmer on, another one of our patrons. They are going to be discussing the UK's life science sector exposure to Brexit. And then we have another patron, Bioproducts Laboratories, who are going to be discussing the impact of COVID-19 on healthcare and the future implications. We will be joined by a group of panellists from AFEX, the NHS Trust, Cyprus Quality Consulting, ComQuest, Pro Longevity, Riz Healthcare and Roche. So again, if you are interested in that, details are on our website and you'll be able to see the full schedule on there. On the 20th of August, we are looking at rebuilding the future for Hertfordshire together. So this is going to be led by the Hertfordshire LEP, and we'll be joined by Tesco's, Volker Fitzpatrick's, Bamboo Brush, Visit Hearts, the Hearts County Council, and our very own Briefly. He will be there also. So again, this is a very topical and an important webinar. I think we've already got quite a good turnout and people that have registered. So again, if you want to look at rebuilding Hertfordshire together, I would definitely recommend you get yourself on that one. Our next virtual networking will be taking place on the 2nd of September. So if you've not had the joy of joining us yet for a networking session, please do. That's the 2nd of September. And on the 3rd of September, we're delighted to have a masterclass. So it's going to be an online masterclass about presenting in the digital world. And we're going to be joined by professional actor Ben Richards. So some of you may know him for his starring roles in The Bill, Hollyoaks and Footballers' Wives. So again, if you're looking to sort of build up your confidence and build up some more skills there with presenting in this digital world, as we're still unable to really meet, please do look at that. That's the 3rd of September. So again, thank you all to joining us this morning. I wish you all have a lovely day and the rest of the week, and hopefully see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Cheers.
Bye.